everybody. Welcome to TCCA 2020. This is session 2632. No, just kidding. So today's session is being presented by Sherri and Lisa. So I'm going to give Sherri and Lisa also a plug. They are also working on Region 4 Digital Learning Conference. So when you get an email from somebody about it, tell your principal, we need to be able to go to this conference. Again, it is virtual, but I think that you will find it a hugely beneficial conference, just like this one is. So what we're going to do is, again, I'm going to introduce everybody. Jackie Stewart, wave your hand, Jackie. Jackie is a digital. She is the information literacy specialist at Davis High School, where we usually meet for this event. Jackie and I usually get there about 5 o'clock in the morning, and we miss seeing all of you. I miss seeing people, but that's okay. But we're going to be here to monitor your chat. We also have Amanda in the YouTube room. She's kind of making sure that everything is going smooth out there and everything is streaming. So it is 101, and ladies, it is yours.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to We Be Jammin' in the Math Classroom. So today we want you to actually walk away with some ideas on how to use Google Jamboard in the math classroom. And this is open from pre-K to 12th grade. And hopefully you'll be able to get some things out of it. We'll be sharing some resources towards the end of the session to help you get started. I am Sherri Powell. I'm an education specialist in the Publishing and Digital Learning Solutions Department at Region 4 here in Houston, Texas. I'm also a former reading, science, and technology teacher at the middle school level, and then I advanced on as an ed tech specialist and digital learning specialist and other duties as assigned. So you guys know how that works. I've been at it for about 22 years. And I'm going full speed ahead, and proud mother of a wonderful, awesome daughter who's off playing softball. You can reach me anytime via email and with your questions and anything concerning this session. I'm going to actually turn it over to Lisa and let her introduce herself.
Good morning. My name is Lisa McMillan, and I am a coordinator of digital learning at Region 4. In the Publishing and Digital Learning Solutions Department. I am a former elementary teacher, also a former library media specialist, curriculum writer, and district level administrator. I have 22 plus years in education, and I am a huge STEAM advocate. And I'm very excited to be here today with you all. My contact information is on the screen if you would like to reach out to me. And thank you, Brad, for talking about our digital learning conference, which is coming up on January 12th at Region 4. So be on the lookout for that. But today we're going to talk about Jamboard. And what is Jamboard? And thinking about digital tools that you use in your classroom, drop in the chat box if you've ever used a smartboard or Promethean or any of those other whiteboard tools in your classroom and probably still in your classroom right now. Just drop it in the chat if you guys have used that feature before. So thinking about that tool and the advantages of using that tool, and now we're going to move it to a digital platform. Because Jamboard is an online interactive whiteboard. So you have all the features of that physical board, but in an online environment. And it allows for cross-platform collaboration. So it's a Google tool. So it integrates with all of your G Suite apps. And it also has many other available apps that integrate with it. So thinking about your whiteboard in your classroom now, your digital collaborative whiteboard in the cloud. There are some important things to know about Jamboard. So it does have a few cautions when you're using it. So just thinking about using it just as you would any other whiteboard, and thinking about how you can demonstrate on the whiteboard and how you can allow students to demonstrate their knowledge and mastery on the whiteboard. You also have the ability to share with students. Students can collaborate in this platform, in this digital platform. You can have whole classroom discussions. You can break students into groups. You can do individual student Jamboards. You can also collaborate in real time. So you have opportunities to do some real-time collaboration, but you also can set up some Jamboards for students to access at another time. You can use drawings, you can use images, you can use text. It is a very multifaceted tool that you can use with your students. You can also that students can use this as a presentation tool also. And isn't that pretty cool that we would have students to share their creativity using this digital platform? So because it's a Google tool, it has a lot of flexibility, of course, with all of the other G Suite apps that Google can integrate into it. So just keep in mind some of those things about Jamboard. So, of course, the title of our session is We Be Jammin' in Math, of course. And so why math? So I posed this question to a math teacher, and I asked the math teacher, I said, what is the hardest part of online instruction being a math teacher? And when we think about the core content areas, when we think about ELA, science, and social studies, we know that the digital interactive whiteboard lends itself to, of course, those subject areas, both in the physical classroom and in this online platform, Jamboard. And when I asked the math teacher this question, they told me that the hardest part is giving feedback to their students. And so with Jamboard, you have multiple ways to do some hands-on explanations, and you can explain concepts involving numbers and graphs and shapes and all of the other components and concepts in math. You're also going to have a very engaging platform for both teachers and students. And the tools that are used within Jamboard lend itself to mathematics instruction. You're going to have collaboration with Jamboard, interactivity, and you're going to be able to provide that feedback that students need in the math classroom. So I think this is one of those tools. When I was talking to this math teacher, I said, I do believe this is one of those tools that's going to really lend itself for math instruction. So when we are talking and thinking about 21st century teaching and learning, Jamboard helps students to design, engage, and learn through critical thinking, collaboration, communication, of course, creativity. So all of those pieces together with Jamboard makes it a great tool to use in the classroom. And this digital virtual instruction, both using it asynchronously and synchronously. So I am going to turn it over to Miss Sherri, and she's going to show you some of these great features within Jamboard.
Hey, hi guys again. So before I actually dig into Jamboard, I did want to talk about some of the features that come with Jamboard. And as I speak, they are steadily adding more and more features. I know just a couple of weeks ago, they added a text box feature. So I think that is way cool. But as you can see on the screen, you have a search feature. You have a filter that you can actually go and search for Jamboards by other owners or jams that have been shared with you. You can also search in alphabetical order just based on how you've named the Jamboard. And you can look at it in grid view and, of course, chart view. You can also just create a jam just where you are. And a simple way to get to the jam is, of course, you can go to google.jamboard.com. You can look in your menu. I like to say the waffle because I like to eat. So you can do your search through the waffle and easily access Jamboard there. And once we dig in, I'll actually show you where all these features are located for those of you who have never used Jamboard. But a few of the cool tools that they do have. You have a pen tool, you have an eraser, of course, your mouse where you can move around some of the things that you put onto the jam, sticky notes, which you can actually customize to different colors of your choice. You can also pull in images from your Google Drive as well as your computer if you want to use as demonstration. There's also a laser pointer just for something to bring to your students' attention as well. And quite a few things that you can do on the jam itself. If you make a mistake, you have your undo and redo. In addition to that eraser, of course, you can magnify your Jamboard. You can change to a certain background, but you can also pull in images to create your own background. And I'm going to show you where that's at as well. Now, there's some few touchy-feely things that you will notice, and I definitely want to dig in and take you there in a minute because it can get a little finicky. But these are some of my favorite features of Jamboard, and that's going to be in the more options. You'll see the 3 tilde dots, and think about that documentation. Think about, what you may have to turn in or add to a child's portfolio or something like that. You can actually download the Jamboard as a PDF. You can save a Jam as an image. So if you need to put it into another presentation, you could. You can also make a copy. And making a copy goes a long, long way, especially for those students that you may need to differentiate for. You may make that one template for all of your students to actually do their math problem on, make a copy of it, and then share it with those individual students. So we're going to talk about that as well. One big standout is that for those of you who are using Google Classroom, you can actually share your jams through there just by a simple link. Now, additionally, when they first rolled out Jamboard, they had in mind this awesome whiteboard on wheels or on the wall, and you can use it with the Jamboard software. So that's what you see here. It says open on a jam. So you actually need a physical whiteboard for that. And whereas they are projecting the software itself onto that board and use it that way. But of course, we don't have money like that, right? So we are now using Jamboard, which I think is a cool feature to use with your students. So as a math teacher, what can you do? If I were to type in a search, ways to use Google Jamboard in the math classroom, and I personally am not a math teacher, nor was it one of my favorite subjects growing up, but I see that Jamboard definitely lends itself to so many different math activities that we can actually do. And what I'm going to be doing today is actually sharing some grade level examples with you from the early childhood all the way to high school. And of course, you're the math teacher, so you already know the different things that you can even pull in, and not just the examples I share, but just some of your very own. So think about those examples that you've used in your classroom face-to-face last year in the past, or some of you are using right now, that you can actually transfer that learning onto a Jamboard and just making it more digital. That way, all of your students have stake in it, and you don't have to worry about calling one student at a time. Okay, come up to the board and, write your answer and things like that, or you're not the only one using it. So an awesome tool. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and have Lisa type in the chat so you can access these samples as I go through them. Right now, it should be in view only mode, but towards the end, I'm going to actually walk you through the process on how to give each student their own copy of a Jamboard or a jam. So we're going to go ahead and shoot over there right now. And once you guys have access to it, what you'll actually notice, and if I have more than 50 people in this room, I'm only working one screen today, so I don't know how many we have today. But what you'll notice, because I have it in this view only mode, you weren't forced to sign in. You just click on the link and you have that easy access. So think about it when you want your students to access. Now, because it holds up to 50 people, what happens is that anything past that, you won't be able to get in. So I'm going to treat it today as a first come, first serve, just so you can kind of get a feel of it. And if you want to be generous and close it out so somebody else can come in, that's totally fine. But everyone is going to have access to this. So what you'll see on my screen, you'll actually see I have a few of those tools and features that I displayed earlier. So I just want to quickly kind of go through them on this slide before I move forward. So for the background, I can change the background at any time. And the clear frame is one that is quite interesting because what can happen if I type a sticky note to say hello and I save it, anyone that has access to this jam, anyone that has those editing rights, they can simply come up here and clear frame. I did a training once and for adults, and somebody hit clear frame. Ooh, let me see what this does. And everybody's work had disappeared. And so I said, okay, I said, who hit clear frame? I need you to go and undo it. And they undid it. And of course, it comes back. So that's one of those best practices that you're definitely going to have to teach your students, young and old, about working in Jamboard, because this can happen. They can work hard, solve their math problems, everything's going great, and then that one kid hits clear frame. So they have just as much rights as you do, of course, in Jam. Over here to the far right, you'll see the Open on Jamboard. That's that physical Jamboard that I mentioned earlier, okay? And then you have your 3 tilde dots where it has more actions. And so here, this is where you can download as a PDF, save the frame as an image, what I mentioned earlier. So think about documentation, thinking about adding to the student's portfolio, thinking about sharing it on some other platform like your LMS or something like that. Now, on your left side, you'll see all the tools on my screen. But like I say, in a minute, I'm going to actually share this with you all. And then, of course, just like any other Google Doc, you're going to actually have access to share it with your students as a group or individuals or as a whole. And of course, the link, this is where you'll change it. Right now, anyone with the link can only view. So you probably don't have the tools right now that you can actually add to that. But once I actually change it, you'll be able to add to your Jamboard. So what I want to do, I'm going to actually click on this drop down right here. And under this drop down, you'll actually see all of the jams. Okay, you can go forward and you can go back. But because I was just demonstrating on this slide, I just want to get rid of it, and you can do that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this slide. And now we're back at the beginning where we are. And I wanted to start with the first activity. This is an activity, free worksheets that you can download, use with those kiddos. And I'm going to start with early childhood. And what I did, I pulled in this worksheet. I stretched it out, made it part of my background, and then I added these stickies with numbers. So now my child has a drag and drop activity where they can count by twos, like, okay, 6, 8, and they can go forward with that. So that's one particular activity that you can do with those littles. The next one, this another worksheet that you can actually add. Students can handwrite their answers in. There's a pen tool over to your left where you can actually change the pen, the size. It can be a marker, it can be a highlighter, or even a brush. And once they have what they need, they can come over, and then of course they can write their answer. Now, I am not the best because I am on my laptop and I'm trying to write with a mouse, but if they had like an iPad or a tablet or something like that with a stylus, it definitely would give you some justice with that. Same thing over here with comparing fractions. So basically, you're pulling in a worksheet and you're making it part of your background, and you're adding your students to that, whether it's all your students in a class. I don't really see anybody teaching past 50 students. So all 27, all 30 should be able to fit in. Here's another drag and drop. This is an activity working with fact families. Students will actually go ahead and drag and drop their numbers and see how they can make 10, okay? So the different ways they can actually make 10. And all I did was pull in some numbers and duplicate those numbers. So simply, you can just click on it, duplicate it, and now I have another 10, and all I did was just simply put them on top of each other, okay? And so with that, I can continue on with this particular activity. I can also rename it and save it as an image if I need to, and then place it onto that student's portfolio, like I said earlier. Another activity, another drag and drop, having the students complete a math chart. So with this math chart, and say, okay, let's complete this. 11, we know that it's a 10 by 10. So 11 is going to go here. Again, these were just simple sticky notes. And I just put numbers on them and have the students complete those. Now, of course, I don't have all the numbers on here. So this is something that you can actually encourage the students to continue building on the sticky notes and resizing. And that's simply putting their numbers on, and then of course resizing them how they need to. Very, very simple, that they can actually do.
Hey, ladies, just a note, you've been on for 20 minutes. That's your 20-minute warning. Lots of comments and questions in the chat room, so keep up the great work.
Thank you. And Lisa, just let me know if there's any questions while I'm going through, because I am working on one screen, so I don't see the chats right now.
Will do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So this was a place value drag and drop 10 by 10. And so now that you've gotten them started, the students started, encourage them to create their own stickies and complete the chart past the numbers. So if you wanted to give them 5 numbers or 4 numbers to start with, then they know that their ultimate goal is to go from 1 to 100. Here's another activity. I actually created this on Buncee. If you never heard of Buncee, it is a nice, cool tool, nice digital feature. Online, great resource that you can go and create some worksheets on your own and, make them your own. They have lots of templates there. So that's what I did here. I actually pulled this one in, greater than, less than, or equal to. And again, you can have your students use the pen tool and go through and answer these. And of course, we have all these activities. But the question is, once they're done, how do they turn it into you? Simple, very simple. They can share it back to you, especially if it's a student that has their own copy, and we'll talk about that towards the end. But they can also just simply provide the link to their work as well. One way I actually like to have students turn work or submit work into me, I always like to create like a Google form. On that Google form, I'm asking them for their name, their class period, or their email address, or whatever it is that I need from them. But I also include a question basically saying, paste the link to your work. That way, every time a student shares, it's not actually coming straight to my email and it bogs my email down. They can actually share the link for that work onto that Google form, which generates a spreadsheet for me. So if I want to see Billy's work, I can just click on that spreadsheet on his link and it'll take me to his work. So just wanted to, yes,
Powell,
ma'am.
Can you pronounce the name for Buncee again? A few people want to know the name. Spell it out for them.
Buncee.
Thank you.
Buncee. So cool tool. Definitely, if you email me, I can send you the contact information and they will be more than happy to give you a walkthrough of the platform for free and show you how to use it and everything. Great people. So moving along, here's Manipulatives. I found some money online, made a couple of copies of it, and I need to make 53 cents. And so let's see, a quarter, another quarter, and 3 pennies, right? Okay, so think about those babies who are learning how to count. And it's up to you if you want to include just enough of the coins for them to complete. That way there's nothing down here in this area left and they have to use all of them to figure it out. This is just 2 examples. You can put as many as can fit on this particular jam. And then of course, here's another one. famous age-old what would you do activities or how would you solve. You guys should be familiar with that. This one, 364 jelly beans. You're going to give 188 to friends or have 281 jelly beans and give 137 to friends. I taught the students at several different age groups, and they love, love, love these activities because it really gets them to thinking about, how they can solve this differently. They're comparing, and they're actually, working together. So this will be a cool collaborative activity with you and your kiddos and how they would solve something. And for this, the students can just simply grab a sticky note and make their choice. And then on that sticky note, they can tell you why. Now, notice that all of you are in here anonymously. And I don't know anyone from Adam that's in the room, but if you had a situation like ours today and you really, really wanted those students to let you know that they are in the room, they are interactive, they're engaged, it's okay to go ahead and ask them, say, go ahead and put your name, and then go ahead and put your response and paste it like that. That way, you know that Billy has participated. Okay, so even if you don't make them sign in, okay, it's okay if they go ahead and add a sticky to it. That way you can check for that engagement and see if they're all on board. Now here's another one. My disclaimer I already gave you. My handwriting is really, really messed up using a mouse. But if you have the tools to actually, write this out a little bit better, this is that live problem solving. You're used to that whiteboard in your classroom. You're used to having your pen and, writing out and solving out, and the students are in the classroom and they're responding to that problem with you and showing you how to solve it or explaining how to solve it. This is basically you demonstrating the same thing, but just in this digital platform. Also, you can have the students do it. Now, what I do love is that up until a few weeks ago, and I'm going to say a few weeks ago, it's probably been about 2 months or so, they added the text tool that wasn't there. So when I click on the text tool on my toolbar, now I can actually type, and that looks way much better, right? And so one question that came up earlier was like, okay, but what if I don't know how to type in all those funny math symbols and things like that? Well, I got something for you, and I'm going to show you in a minute where you can get those math formulas and pull those in a second. But the typing, it goes a long way with me. It looks so much better. But if you do choose to use the pen tool and write it out, just know it may not be your best handwriting, but it works. Another one, and now
Question, Sherri, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Are you limited to the white rectangular space, or can you move down and add more below the work in the picture from the
No,
previous?
you are limited to that small space that you see there. The best that you can actually do for right now is, of course, you can expand, with your zoom. You can add some shapes. Let me click over here. You can add some shapes, but with the shapes, there's no way that you can actually go beyond what you have. You see how it's cut off? So you only provided that small amount of space. If anything, it is totally okay to, extend onto the next jam. So like I'm on jam number 9, just extend it to the next jam, or kind of, separate your content in a sense. So yeah, you only work with that small amount of space. Now,
okay. One other thing, just to reiterate, this is the free version. I know that came up as a question in the comments also.
Yes, this is the free version. And here's the thing, and let me bag up just a little bit. Okay, for those of you who have not found your Jamboard or where it's located, you can simply type in jamboard.google.com to easily get there. And whatever Google account you are signed in, is going to tie to that account. So if you see my image right here, I'm actually in my Region 4 account, but I also have other accounts. I have my personal account. So, and I have another personal account. So Jamboard, even if, and me and Bradley, we were talking about that earlier, some organizations, your school district may not actually have Jamboard turned on. It's really a matter of a click of a button and turning it on. But you will see the Jamboard tool in your account. And so just to show you just really, really quick, I'm just going to go to my drive. And in your drive, and I'm in my Region 4 account, you'll see the waffle. Once you get to the waffle, if you scroll down just a tad bit, you'll actually see the Jamboard symbol, which looks like a shape of a J, but orange and yellow. Okay. So
Just
that's one way.
ladies, that's your 30-minute warning.
Thank you.
No problem.
Okay. You'll see the Jamboard feature. So that's another option in accessing Jamboard. So jamboard.google.com, or come in here to your apps and open it from there. Now, what I didn't show you was how it looks once you get in. And so I'm going to actually take a pause in those drag and drop and other math activities and just show you. So this is my main Jamboard landing page where I have nothing but jams, and the list goes on and on and on. And you see all the interactives and different sticky notes that people have placed and everything. But what you will see is that you have the option to, of course, do that filter that I showed you. And then, of course, do your last modifications or last open by you and the different views. So you got your row view and your grid view. But if you want to start a new one, the bottom right corner, you'll always see this little orange circle with the white plus symbol, and you just simply click on it and there's your jam. I strongly encourage you that when you are creating jams, that you go ahead and name them whatever that jam is going to be. So if it's for first period or second period, if it's on fractions, or if it's for a particular student in your class, because you want it for that particular student and them only, go ahead and name it as such, because otherwise they will all be called, untitled. So I just definitely wanted to show that to you in that sense. Now, with the drag and drop, since we're talking about our older kids now, kind of secondary-ish, I guess, this is one. All I have on here are just stickies, and I put numbers. Well, these numbers will represent a student. That student already knows what their number is. So Jerry, you're going to be number 1. Susie, you're number 2. Billy, you're number 10. And you have your question already posted on your jam. It can be a math question they need to solve. It can be just a common question that in this case is what is one way to solve? And so we have all these math problems and different ways of learning how to solve problems. And the way that math teachers are teaching now, I'm like, okay, I didn't learn how to add and subtract like that, So this is one of those ways where you get those students to really, really think critically about how to solve certain math problems. And so when they have to answer, they can just simply go ahead, click on a sticky note. And so since Billy is number 10, he's gonna, say his little gibberish and solve that problem, or show how he can solve that problem. And he can go ahead and place his on his square, and he's answered. And so that way, no identity is shared, no rights, no wrongs. You're just actually just giving the students that freedom to really just have their choice in how to solve that particular math problem. So let me delete that because I'm going to be sharing this with you guys in a minute. Now, here's where it gets a little bit more, what I like to say, a little bit more serious, because math teachers, I know we love those formulas. We want to pull them into our Google Docs and different things. And so one particular extension is called Equatio, okay? It's through Text Help, the same people that created Read and Write. And with Equatio, and it's free for teachers. So if you don't have it, you make sure you go get it. An awesome feature, awesome tool that you can actually integrate with Jamboard. So here in this example, you'll actually see TextQuest using the fraction-based jams, okay? So you can go and create fractions and then pull them in. So especially for those that you can't really draw in Jamboard, you really don't want to kind of go steal a picture offline somewhere, and then you want to pull those formulas in. So just like that jam I showed you with the messy handwriting of mine, you can actually come to Equatio, get the symbols that you need, and pull them in. So let me show you how to actually integrate Equatio onto the Jamboard. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just open up a Google Doc, a new Google Doc, and say docs.new, start a new one. And once I get to plain Google Doc, notice that I do have my extension. And so with the extension, Equatio is this little blue, teal blue triangle. I'm going to go ahead and open that extension, and you'll see the Equatio feature pop on the bottom of my screen. And so with that, I'm going to go to my math space. It says insert math space. And for those of you who are familiar with Equatio, then you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But for first timers, if you hadn't used Equatio, I'm sure I have a witness in the room that can tell you that is an awesome tool to use. MathType is another one that you can use. So with this, it takes me to the Equatio math space. And now what I'm going to do is actually go ahead and insert a smart shape. So with the smart shape, if I wanted to do a fraction bar or a fraction circle, I can do so. I'll go ahead and click on that. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little slots. And I can also change the color if I need to. Of course, that color is not going to work. So I'll just do this little blue color. How about that? Now, with this blue color, a couple of things I want to do before I insert my circle. I want to go ahead and fix my label by the number of segments. Even though I have all 5 segments shaded, I'm going to actually shade about 3. And then say I'm done. And I also want to include my math problem. So if I want to type my math problem with this, I can do that as well. So when I am done in my math space, all I have to do at this point is go up here to the right corner and click on that little blue insert circle. It's going to insert that image onto my Google Doc. So here's the final step. All I have to do is take that. I'm going to do Control-C. And now I can go back to my drag and drop jam and then hit Control-V. So now I have my shape that I need. I can write my problem onto the jam for my students to solve, okay? So really, really cool feature in trying to get those fancy shapes that you normally wouldn't be able to draw, or also those formulas and things like that. So when I say formulas, let's say do edit math. And with that is getting that math space ready. And if I need to go in and do an editor or something like that, or go ahead and type in something in regards to, let me just play with it right here. Now, even though my handwriting is messy, it does understand it, okay? So now all I have to do is insert math, and it's inserted that particular formula onto my space. And now, of course, just like I did before with the shape, I can copy it and then paste it. Well, I didn't copy it correctly, but you get the idea, right? Okay, so now with that, there's so much that you can actually do, you know, with text quest equatio and Jamboard. So just use your imagination. You guys are the professionals. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about differentiating for your students, because that's what we've definitely had to do a great deal of, especially with those students who are not in front of us physically in the classroom. So it's kind of a struggle trying to see where they are and what they need to show you in their learning. So with this, if we wanted to differentiate in Jamboard, we can simply start by assigning a jam to the individual student. So if you wanted to create an entire Jamboard with many jams, like you see here, I got 12 jams. And if you wanted to share it with your students, what you could do is go ahead and create it. Go to the share.
Sherri?
Yes.
We are jamming. We are jamming. It's 1:40, and we got some questions that we've been writing down. So, are you guys ready? Are you ready for? Okay, so let me go ahead and address the elephant in the room real quick. Currently, it is not turned on in Aldine, so that's okay. This is a state national conference, so just because it's not turned on in Aldine is no reason why we did not want to cover this topic. So yes, if you're an Aldine person and you try to use it, it is not accessible right now. Does it mean that it won't be accessible next week, next month, next year? I don't know. So we will keep that into consideration. So I know that Jackie has been feverishly writing down some questions. So Jackie, what you got for these ladies?
Well, let me apologize in advance. My internet was going in and out, but if you've already answered this, I apologize.
No problem.
Someone says, how did you get the graph paper background?
The graph paper background. Easy, easy, easy. You see this word right here? It says background. Yeah. Click on it. Here you go.
Oh, bam. Most of the questions seem to be they wanted an Aldine.
I need to write how cool it is.
Question.
Definitely. Now, you do have access to it in your personal account, but because it's not in your enterprise or your district Google account, I cannot give you the advice and say, well, use your personal. Please don't do that. Okay. If you want to use it for professional development or something on the personal end, without your students, use your personal account, but not for your students. So you're definitely going to have to wait until they turn this on. I don't see them not turning on in the future because it is fairly new, especially in this last year, and it's definitely become very popular, during this COVID time, because those whiteboards have definitely not been, available to you guys because you're not in the classroom. So last thing I do want to show you and share with you is how to actually share this with your students. For those of you who do have access to Jamboard, and sharing it with your students so they can have their own copy, okay? Now, the old school way is what you're going to have to actually use. And I say the old school way because I have this awesome extension that I love. It's called Sherri Links a lot that I can use to, share templates and things like that. And that's this one right here. But you can't use it in Jamboard. So with that, we have to go the old school way. So what I'm going to do is actually share a forced copy with you all that are here in the room. And you're going to have access to all of these examples that I've shared with you today. And so to do that, I'm going to go ahead and go to my blue share button and come down here because right now you guys have the viewing, and I'm going to change this. So anyone with the link, they'll actually be able to edit it. And now I'm going to copy this link. And so now that I've copied it, I'm going to go over, let me see where I can go. Guess I could go in a chat area, but what I need to do is actually go ahead and paste it. Now, do you see this area right here? Okay, that I just highlighted. Edit ? USP equals sharing. what I'm going to do now is actually change that to the word copy. Okay. Now, once I change that to copy, I'm going to go ahead and paste it in the chat area. And so now you all should be able to click on that link and have your own copy, a forced copy of that document. And then that way you'll actually have your own copy of your drag and drop and other Mac activities. Let me know if that didn't work for you, and I'll go through that process again.
We dropped it in the
Okay.
in the chat. I don't know if it's hot linkable or not, but we'll leave it up there for a few minutes so that people can take a look.
And we also have another question. Can you have 3 different assignments for different levels?
3 different assignments for different levels. Can you elaborate on that?
Amanda, can you elaborate a little bit more?
Amanda, could you speak louder, please? Sorry, that was inappropriate. I'm sorry. That was funny. I mean, we needed a little comedy to go on here. I see that that Eva says that since we don't have access, you might need to look at it in your. My guess is Eva is an Aldine person.
Yeah. Amanda says different. Oh, God, help me out.
So a few people said it worked, and a few people says it didn't work. So
yeah, it's probably going to be people who don't have it turned on and people who do have it turned on.
Yeah, that's going to be it.
Right. If you're in your district account and they don't have Jamboard turned in, you will not be able to access it. So if you have your personal, go to your personal Gmail and make sure that you're signed in on the Chrome browser as well as your Google Drive account, really your Chrome browser, and paste that in there. You'll be able to have it. But today, also Lisa and I will paste that link onto the website in resources for this particular session, so you'll have access to it again.
And if you like these types of sessions, Region 4's Digital Learning Conference, bunches of these sessions coming up. What's the date again?
January the 12th.
January the 12th. That is, I mean, before you know it, that's around the corner. Oh my God, it's already almost November.
January 12th.
Yeah, but I would highly recommend talk to your principal. There's not a real need to have you go anywhere. They don't have to pay for you to go anywhere, stay anywhere. You can probably just take a day and sit at your computer at home and watch this.
Yes.
I'm sure that they will be sending lunch to you. I hope everybody was able to get the lunch we sent their way today, and they saw everything that they were going to do. So I want to go ahead and also take a second to put up the banner with the secret word. This is, what session is this, ladies? This is session 6. This is actually, it feels like session 6,537.
I got it, Brad.
Wow.
Yep,
beautiful.
That is the
Brad,
secret word.
I love my TCCA T-shirt that you sent in the mail. We got that.
We got these too. If you volunteered, I think Amanda got one. If you volunteered, we got you out a T-shirt. But we're going to end this session. I want to thank everybody.
Thank you.
Lisa, Sherri, Jackie, Amanda, Mike, Joe, my daughter, my mom, my dad, everybody for this great honor.
Goodbye, Brad. Goodbye, ladies. Thank you so much.
See y'all later.
Thank you so much. Y'all have a great
Thank you guys for coming.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.